Bingo! You were able to go back in time to just before your home became a sleeping world, only because a past version of you already existed there. And I can see, in the past, you already met Mr. Robe Guy. Yep, he was there then to make sure you ended up here now.
That's ridiculous!
It sure is. It's too perfect. Who'd ever believe it? Which is why you idiots never saw it coming.
Oh yeah, he's so smart to take into account his multiple supposed deaths and constant failures. It's like he could see everything coming.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Oh, get out of here, Grandpa. You're weird and everyone knows it.
I am. Ooh, where am I? I'm so old.
Hiya, I'm WHYBOY with ToonGrin and welcome back to Cartoon Corner. Finally, after almost 15 years and a bunch of necessary and unnecessary sequel, midquel, and prequel games, Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally here to hopefully cap off the story with the thrilling conclusion of Sora and his fight against the heartless, nobodies, and old mans.
Oh, I can't find my grandson who may or may not be me.
I've been following the series since the beginning, and like I stated in my How Much Is Kingdom Hearts video, this was the game series that got me to get a PlayStation, so I've become plenty invested in the characters, story, and lore of this ever-expanding game series.
But the story of Kingdom Hearts sucks!
Goblin Nero, you get out of here!
You know it's true. From the emotionless nobodies having emotions, to Big Bad Xehanort being 4 people at the same time, to Sora being a big pantaloons loser. Kingdom Hearts as a story just sucks.
Back in your goblin hole! It's a sentiment that fans have heard countless times. The convolution of the narrative and release of the games has made Kingdom Hearts famous for a story that's one part brain-numbingly simplistic.
Darkness.
Hearts.
Darkness.
Darkness.
Heart.
Darkness.
Light.
Heart.
Heart.
Heart. Heart.
Heart.
Darkness!
Heart. Light.
Darkness.
Darkness.
Light. The darkness. Hearts.
Hearts. Darkness for light. For hearts.
Heart. Darkness. The darkness. Darkness?
And one part confusing, creating a barrier for any newcomer to the franchise as they got a lot of prerequisites to play through first. But I'm here to talk story as that's my bag, and ask, how could you fix Kingdom Hearts? Get rid of those dumb villains. You wanna rework that little answer, you jerkwad? Very much so, yes. Well, let's take a step back first. The writing I find to be the most solid, grounded, and well constructed in the Kingdom Hearts narrative is our heroes. Sora's tale especially, even if you can break it down to simply boy in clown pants fight shadow folk for friendship, has a far simpler laid out narrative flow, which makes it leagues more understandable than the bulk of the Kingdom Hearts lore and backstory. That's because Sora and even Riku's story centers around a core theme to focus on, which is not any of the ones I mentioned. It's connection. Sora's journey through the games are filled with challenges to how he connects and engages with his new and old friends. His connections attribute to how powerful he grows and is the reason he earned his Keyblade. And his doofusy but friendly personality is a central focus to how he can connect with so many new people so easily and why he's so determined to save all of his friends. Basically, he's a key-wielding version of a shonen character, like Naruto, Deku, or Luffy. In each of the games, along with having a parallel concept of 3-hero framing device, also have the strong thematic backbone to all the protagonist's stories. Chain of Memories, Sora and Riku fight through Castle Oblivion to reclaim connections as they continue to lose their memories. Kingdom Hearts 2, a culmination of how the connections to Sora shape the lives of the people around him and how it goes against an organization deprived of such connection. 358 over 2 days, the story of Sora's Nobody Roxas and how his connections with his friends Shion and Axel sparked his quest of self-identity. Burst by Sleep. The prequel game following the Keyblade wielders Terra Ventus and Aqua, and while each fall into a tragic fate, each also succeed in avoiding the worst possible outcome by remembering their connection to each other. Dream Drop Distance. For Sora, it's the realization of his connections to the Keyblade wielders he's inadvertently protecting, and his vow to hold true to them. And for Riku, it's a tale of forgiving himself and reaffirming his friendship to Sora and what he would do to protect him. And Recoded? It's funny because you think you matter. Get out of here. Nobody cares about you, especially not real Sora. And take Data Sora with you. Though I can find real Sora somewhat grating as his persona doesn't really evolve throughout his games, unlike nearly every other hero on the good side, I will hold firm that it's this writing that I think keeps everyone coming back to KH, as it's so warm and inviting. But who do we all have to just deal with in the process?
The villains!
Very good, everyone. Here's some Ansem reports to explain any inconsistencies in the game. The villains I'm referring to are Ansem the Seeker of Darkness, Organization 13, and the big old bad Xehanort. I don't think there's any more complex way to put it than it's the result of these villains that we get all this over-complexity in the lore that makes Kingdom Hearts so famously convoluted. At the beginning it was fairly simple, with a roundtable of Disney villains looking to collect the Princes of Heart and the Keels of the world to take control of them and the titular Kingdom Hearts to rule over everything. Straightforward, right? Bunch of losers want to stop being losers. Then within the game you found reports that detailed research conducted by a researcher named Ansem, who was trying to expand his understanding of the heart through his experiments making the manufactured Heartless. Not to be confused with purebred Heartless like the Shadows and the Dark Sides. It's then within these experiments that Ansem lost his heart and became Ansem the Seeker of Darkness, who possessed Riku and used him and the Disney villains to try and take over Kingdom Hearts as he sought the power of darkness he thought it held. And then Sora killed him. So, Ansem, on the villain spectrum, you're pretty straightforward too, and make a pretty decent little dark devil to sit on Riku's shoulder for his character arcs throughout the game. I mean, you did turn into a boat at one point, and that was weird, but you're a pretty decent villain overall.
Rawr, I'm the Devil of Darkness.
Then we got the nobodies, and so begins the first step on the ladder of confusion. The idea being nobodies are traditionally a yin and yang situation. If someone with a strong enough being loses their heart, along with a heartless, the empty husk of the body would become their nobody, a being without emotion with the sole desire to reclaim their heart. So a hooded figure named Xemnas plans to do just that, rounded up 12 understrong nobodies and formed Organization 13 to build Kingdom Hearts so that they can use its power to get all their hearts back. Now I'm sure all the KH fans got their favorite organization member. Zegbar, Demix, Larkseed, Axel. Each member has their own distinct cool look with a personality to match to gain some die-hard love for them, whether you love to see them talk or see them die.
Oh, no way! Oh.
You're dead. But wait a minute. Personality? I thought nobody's had no emotions. Wouldn't a personality, motives, likes, dislikes, and emotions mean they have emotions? I always find it really contrary to the description of nobodies to have villains who are introduced as a colorful rose gallery for Sora and Riku to beat up. Xemnas is the only one that acts seemingly without emotion. He'd be the only one to fit that description, so what's going on?
It's about time you noticed.
Indeed. A heart is never lost for good.
Ah, I get it. You're a dirty liar. Definitely a villainous act that does work within the narrative to put some tragedy into the mix. But while I do think it's a nice villainous twist for Xemnas, with this line, it more seems like a workaround than a planned plot twist.
There may have been variances in our dispositions, but a number of us unquestionably showed signs of a burgeoning replacement.
Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Guess everybody checks out when you make it that vague. But let's be even fairer. This wasn't really Mr. Xemnas' highly convoluted plan. It was the king of convolution, Master Xehanort. Now we're onto the final big bad of Sora's tale, and he's legendary for his planning, namely in how bull-honky it is. Let's see. Going back in the timeline to Burst by Sleep, Xehanort was a Keyblade master who was infatuated with the Keyblade War that happened centuries ago, so he set to create a power to trigger a second one. His motive will come in a bit. His first plan was to conduct experiments on a child he found called Ventus to try and create what he calls a Keyblade, with an X, by separating Ventus's good side and evil side, hoping they will clash to form the weapon. This, by the way, has no connection to the yin-yang concept of Heartless and Nobodies, but is an entirely different concept of the yin-yang just now added in the 6th game of the series. I know, right? While he's doing that, Xehanort's noticing he's gotten a few more wrinkles, those crow's feet aren't going away like he wanted, so he sets up Terra to kill his master and go down a path where he'll weaken his heart enough to allow Xehanort to take over his nice, young, supple boy body. Xehanort does succeed in creating the blade and possessing Terra, but due to Ventus, Terra, and Aqua's efforts, the Keyblade is destroyed and Terra Xehanort is left as an amnesiac on Anson's front porch. That is Anson the Wise, who is not the same old man Xehanort, or the Ansem known as Anson the Seeker of Darkness. Got it? Good. But that's not the end of Xehanort's plans! Oh no. Because now we gotta talk a little bit about time travel. Wherein Xehanort, after he lost his heart, traveled to the point in time to meet his younger self, young Xehanort, to set into motion his backup plan to create 13 versions of himself, set up 7 heroes to face off with them, as prophecy foretells, that will create the Keyblade, which will result in the Keyblade War that he so wants. And why is he doing all this to cause a war? That's actually explained in one of the reports in Birth by Sleep. From Report 4, and when Kingdom Hearts is complete and is said the one who opens its door will bring about the creation of the next world. Such a feat is above any human, or, to put it a different way, whoever opens the door will be reborn as something far greater than human.
You're stupid!
But put aside that ridiculous notion of starting a war in hopes that it will reform to maybe be better afterwards. I think a line from one of the villains, Zigbar, perfectly encapsulates Xehanort's real problem.
That's ridiculous!
It sure is. It's too perfect. Who'd ever believe it?
No one. Because you're right. It is too perfect. How is there any real stakes at hand in a conflict where the villain can say about 90% of what happened here was within my calculations? Oh man, I just realized Kingdom Hearts devolved into the Star Wars prequels. What was once a setup for a simple yet fun adventure and journey of a hero has turned into a convoluted quagmire planned by a degenerate old man in a cloak. Instead of crafting a character of credible threat, you go too far and now you got a cartoonish caricature of that. And while Xemnas' line of the Nobodies makes sense planning-wise, how could Xehanort's plan make sense to anybody when he has to factor in his own failures and deaths? 3 separate deaths, with his hopeful result being the deaths of his Nobody and Heartless would come back together to form himself again. How do you know that would happen? Why is the concept of death a point of confusion in this game? Can anyone really die even in Kingdom Hearts as a universe given that they can just turn to other forms of being? I really want to like this series, and I do love everything with Sora and Riku, but the Kingdom Hearts villains' plans just make no sense when you try to factor in how they could just plan it so perfectly. Like, if you need a flow chart to understand your villains, then you got problems. But let's say, if I took a heart-based time travel journey to the past and could give my thoughts to the actual writing staff of Kingdom Hearts, how could I fix Kingdom Hearts? I'd say if there was more of a focus on one-off villains and the Disney characters, that'd help drastically. Because the biggest hindrance to having such an interconnected villain and hero dynamic is that a lot of story elements get lost in the shuffle of trying to make everything connect and have everything be part of the grandiose master plan. The master plan isn't a bad plot device, but as we've seen with overpowered geniuses like Xehanort, Naraku from Inuyasha, Palpatine from Star Wars, and Aizen from Bleach, their ability to plan out everything and to always have a backup plan waiting in the wing removes all tension from the majority of the narrative until the climax. Why should we be tense? We know Xehanort's gonna be one step ahead of Sora till the franchise climax when he gets a key shoved up his nose. They're no longer characters, just caricatures of something to smack with your key until they are humbled in the end. Simplifying it to even having Ansem and Xemnas be the heartless and nobody of 2 different people would help create more chronology of villains with a clear beginning and end, rather than a necessary flow chart of a single one. And I think we can mostly agree a lot of us got into this series for the Disney elements, so take advantage of that and make some of the Disney's bad guys the final bosses, not just level bosses. It streamlined the story to being self-contained, where the lore can build on top of each other, without needing to ride over one another in a desperate dog paddle to make sense. You hear a lot of criticism in story writing chalked up to a lack of complexity. This is too simple, obvious, cliche. I've used the same critique myself, but simple stories are made into classic tales all the time, including the first Kingdom Hearts. It's not really the complexity that draws people in or makes a good tale. It's the dynamic interaction that adds to complexity, that can evoke emotion and charm that brings people in. So, how could we fix Kingdom Hearts? By allowing the simple nature of a simple story hold it up, rather than a bunch of Xehanorts. I also thought it was a missed opportunity that seeing as we had 13 strong nobodies and the 2 Heartless we've seen out of them is a beefy Ansem and a derpy Shadow Sora, wouldn't it have been cool to fight more boss Heartless based off the 13? It's kind of disappointing thinking the rest just turn into shadows. Hey! Whose Heartless are you?
I'm Demix, obviously. Got it memorized?
Okay, you check out.
I also got a Keyblade. See ya!
Remember when the Keyblade was special too? Thanks for watching Cartoon Corner. With this release, I'm sure many of you are playing Kingdom Hearts 3 or seeing many spoilers for it. Do you like the Kingdom Hearts story? Is there any aspects that you find convoluted? Leave your comments below to celebrate the alleged finale of this series. If you like more Gage videos from me, let me know, as I know I can talk more about this fun franchise. And a big thank you to a Let's Player I really enjoyed named Nico B for letting me use his game footage. He played through all the Kingdom Hearts games in order, and through his playthrough and use of funny voices, he really helped me appreciate this story so much more. So if you like goofy voices alongside really in-depth and well-edited Let's Plays, be sure to subscribe to Nico B. And be sure to keep up to date and support future ToonGrin vids by subscribing and hitting the notification bell, following us on social, Patreon, and our official site, ToonGrin.com. Links are in the description below. And as always, be sure to tune in to ToonGrin.